Dumza Maswana, a visionary musician, seamlessly blends tradition, spirituality, and jazz to craft sonic experiences that transcend mere entertainment, aiming instead to uplift, inspire, and heal. Through his evocative compositions and soulful performances, Maswana intertwines traditional African rhythms with the improvisational spirit of jazz, creating a tapestry of sound that resonates deeply with audiences. He'll be continuing with the Umngqungqo Orchestral Experience tour, accompanied by a 20-piece orchestra, and he joins us now to tell us more. Good morning, Dumza. Thank you so much for your time, and thank you for joining us.
Good morning, Masechaba. Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you. I mean, anyone who has followed your work knows that it's much, much bigger than just music for pleasure. Tell me about how your background has influenced the cultural and spiritual aesthetic that we hear in your music.
Before I go there, let me say that my very first TV interview, it must have been 2009 or 2010. It was done by you somewhere, I'll just start there, then move on. This just brought me so many memories. I grew up in a village in Page in the Eastern Cape, where singing, dancing is an everyday thing. I think I took this music. This music comes from there. As you grow up, you go and do other things. There was a time in my life when I did not really appreciate, the sound that my grandmother taught me. And I went on to do other things. I wanted to sound like everyone else. I did R&B and stuff, But I think when it was time for me to do what I truly think that I was called to do, I had to go back to my grandmother's heart. And this is where the sound is coming from.
Let's talk about the importance of the role, such as people as your grandmother, who inherently gave you a lifelong gift, essentially, by exposing you to your culture and your family's spiritual belief systems.
There's one thing that every time I think of my grandmother, my grandmother was an institution, herself. She taught me so much about my family history, about the traditions, whether in the Eastern Cape or anywhere else. And I think she played a very important role in making the person that I have become now. And I think to celebrate, that heritage, to embrace that heritage, this is exactly what I'm doing, later on in my life. And I think that every child deserves, to be taught about their culture, about their traditions, it's very important. So I think what I'm doing now is what my grandmother taught me.
Before we talk about Umngqungqo, the intimate experience, the orchestral experience that we can expect from you, it's such an important conversation that we are having about your grandmother, especially in light of the one of our top stories today, and has been the entire week, of the gran who was abused by her own grandchild. And evidently South Africa is up in arms because historically grandmothers and our grandparents have always been the bearers of our identity, the wise people in the community that we upheld, no matter what. What are your thoughts around where we are, especially in light of the story?
When I heard and saw the footage, it really broke my heart, because I think, and I said to myself, there must be something wrong with that boy. I don't think that I don't think he's okay. There must be something wrong. Because I think he was raised by that very grandmother. We really need to love our grandparents, and because there comes a time in their lives where they don't remember a lot of things, and when I saw that, actually I remembered what even happens in our villages in the Eastern Cape sometimes. When they grow to that age, they are now called witches because there are things that they cannot remember. They are called witches. Maybe sometimes they would be found on the streets, sometimes naked or whatever the case may be, and people would say, no, she's a witch, and all of those things. So it really broke my heart, because it's something that I know that it happens in my very backyard. Old people sometimes decide they are burnt, and this is something that we need to all stand up as a nation, and rebuke So I think that boy needs to. I don't even know what to talk about. I was just devastated when I heard that. It broke my heart.
We don't talk enough about some of these points that you've made, but thank you very much for sharing your perspective. And so coming back to your music and the essence, especially the content of your compositions, what role does music play in society as an artist, you believe?
Music is a reminder of where we are coming from and where we are going. Music expresses for us the feelings we have, whether we know or not. And music, especially my music, it teaches us, the language. If you listen to my music, there's so much language. And I speak a lot about remembering where we're coming from, not forgetting where we are coming from. And I use jazz, to tell those stories because jazz is a sound that a lot of people, resonate with. So music plays that role. We must not forget where we come from. We must always carry our grandparents. We must always carry our forefathers, forward, because if you can look now, a lot of people don't really, I think they don't understand that we need to carry our heritage to the next generation. And I think music is playing that role. If you listen to Mamire Makeba's music today, you will hear a lot of things that were happening at the time when they were around. So when you listen to music, also ask yourself why a certain song, why besithi Thula Mntwana umama uzobuya sasa. Ask yourself questions about where was mom, and you are going to get a lot of history in music. So there's just so much that people can learn and can take from our music.
So tell me about Umngqungqo, the intimate experience. What can people expect?
It's such an exciting project for me. This is the biggest project I've ever done. We started last year on the 15th of April, and today we are doing our second annual. It will be at the Feather Market Hall in Gqeberha or Port Elizabeth. We are my friends. They took my music and they interpreted it. Sakile Simani, Thokoza Mabuza, they arranged my music, from indigenous sound, and they took it to, they merged it with jazz music and a big orchestra. There's going to be a choir as well. There's going to be dancers, and there's going to be an amazing singer from KZN, Zawadi ya Mungu, a big name that people must write it down now. Zawadi ya Mungu. Just go out and check Zawadi. So in this music, what we are trying to do is to take the sound from the villages and merge it with jazz. And the message, it says, the message is, or the theme is, embrace your heritage. So there's going to be a lot of that. I know that when you speak of heritage, people, they want to wear their traditional clothes. And also it's not just one of those events that you just go to a concert. No, there's red carpet. When people come to my shows, they come dressed. So the theme that says embrace your heritage. So it's always beautiful.
Okay.
It's always great.
Fantastic. Thank you so much. And because language is such an important aspect of your music, and as should be with every creative sector, let's teach the people how to say it properly. Umngqungqo Orchestral Tour. Say it again. Say it again.
Umngqungqo Orchestral Experience.
Before Kibicha Maswana. All right.
And to those who don't know, Umngqungqo is a dance, by Xhosa women. There's a lot of dances in the Xhosa. In our Xhosa community, there's Umngqungqo, Umdudo, Ikimbo, and all that. But Umngqungqo, the reason why we call this music Umngqungqo, it is because it imitates how our mothers dance. The rhythm, the sound, the melodies. They imitate how our grandmothers sing and dance.
All right.
So that's why it paying tribute to old women.
I love that. Thank you so much for your time. That was musician Dumza Maswana.